Good morning, everyone. This is David Gomez, and I'm bringing another of the 31 by 31 interviews. This morning, I have the pleasure to speak with Chuy Velazquez. And Chuy is the head of sales for Kraft for Walmart. And Chuy, it's a pleasure. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty excited about the opportunity, David.
And thank you so much for joining in. And one of the things that I've been asking our speakers is for them to share a little bit of their background. Go ahead and share with us, please.
Well, I would tell you that, I was born in Mexico. I was born in Torreon, Coahuila, which is a small town, 3 hours drive actually west from Monterrey, northern part of Mexico. And I lived for the majority of my, early years, I guess. My parents are from there as well. So we basically had, I would say, very simple life, small town. My father was actually a wholesaler of produce. And I remember, stories of, going there to the market very early in the morning, like 4 or 5 in the morning. Because again, you're basically in the markets actually are like basically ready and done by 7 or 8 in the morning. If you didn't sell, then you didn't. My mom actually stayed home. We're like 3 siblings. And from there, I actually moved to college into Monterrey. And that's where I kind of started my college studies. I went to Tecnológico de Monterrey, got a major in chemical engineering and a minor in administration. And then after that, when I started thinking about what I wanted to do, it was interesting because I think probably in the last year or so, I learned that I was really passionate about branding and sort of selling something to others. Mm-hmm. And there were a number of things and extracurricular activities that I had in school that allowed me to just discover that passion. And I didn't really think that I was natural, I guess, to continue my path on chemical engineering. So I went for more of a commercial path. And that said, David, what happened after that, Procter & Gamble gave me an opportunity to go and be part of their recurring seminars. Mm-hmm. That's how I started my marketing career. So I started in Procter & Gamble. From there, I actually moved to PepsiCo later, mostly on the food side of PepsiCo. I spent in that company 17 years. Very, very nice experiences and stories about that. And with PepsiCo, I had the opportunity to come to the U.S. To start a JV in one of their businesses. And after that, and I took the opportunity to move out and be the CEO of a telecom company, calling card industry, which is very connected to immigrants and how you provide telecom services for immigrants. And from there, I was hired by Kraft Foods at the time, just after the split with Mondelez. To basically lead their international business through exports. And then the merger came in of Kraft and Heinz. And I've been part of that since the merger. And after I was actually done with my responsibility at exports, I moved to lead the Walmart sales team that is based out of Rogers. So that's in a nutshell, basically like my career. I'm actually being happily married to Cynthia, my wife, for 25 years. I have 3 kids, Andres, Maria, Jose, and Ana Paula. And so that's, I guess, in a nutshell, what it's actually 27 years that I've been in the CPG industry in some way or form. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's a long time. And it's funny how you look back and it's, it just seems like it goes in a blur,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people have some of their life story and events help them, when they're succeeding or when they're setting out to do something amazing, they harness some of the things that they've learned in the past. My question to you is chemical engineering. It's a little different to what you're doing right now. And could you tell our viewers how that helps you now, that maybe the disciplines that you learn?
Yeah. So, Yeah, it was an interesting thing because I am a passion of chemistry. I love it. Since I remember, like, middle school, high school, I guess it was always about, kind of how do you deal with, matter and, you know reactions, and I love that. But I would say halfway there in my career, our school actually provided a lot of opportunities to go and do extracurricular activities. And I ran for office, like multiple offices. So you have the opportunity in that school to be either the president of the kind of the board of students, or again, a number of groups that you could be leading. And I was actually, like, I participated in all elections and went for, like, winning in majority of them. A lot of good stories that I have from that. So I kind of, through the process, discovered that I was really passionate about, doing something more about, community, selling a brand to a group of people. My wife actually majored in marketing, so we're always talking about that, right? How she got the degree, but I kind of got the experience. But it was an interesting path, because then when Procter and Gamble in Mexico, I don't know if they do that these days, but at the time they basically conducted this recruiting seminars, right, where they would bring students in their senior year, or junior year or senior year, basically to try to create a path to potentially being hired there. And I remember when I was presented with the options, I do remember it was manufacturing, finance, and marketing. And I was like, okay, I'm clear that I don't want to go for manufacturing. It doesn't feel like it's really what I want to do. Then finance, I didn't think, again, finance was also a path for me. So it was more like, okay, by elimination, I think it's marketing, and because I think that I enjoy that. And interestingly, we went to this seminar and we won. Actually, there was like some sort of contest of marketing a brand. I remember a baby soap brand, and we won the contest. So all of us, 4 or 5, I don't remember, the team that we went there, we were offered with a job. And at the time, then I learned that the CPG companies were looking after engineers, and particularly, chemical engineers, industrial engineers as well, because of the analytical skills to manage the businesses. It was more about how do you understand, your metrics and where you're heading, in terms of, forecasts and, numeric, if you will, your results of your business, as opposed to more of the, call it the branding, or kind of the soft side of it, right? The advertising, or the graphics, or the design, which is part of it, but it was not really the way that companies wanted to run their businesses moving forward. So I was part of that generation, that shift on the way that they were looking at it. And Mexico was very notorious. I remember, like, my one of my bosses, she was a statistician. There was another one that had a major in some sort of atomic energy. I don't even remember well the degree. But it was like you had a number of people that were more about trying to provide this, say, more facts and data driven type of management of businesses. And that's how I actually kind of shifted into that. And it was interesting because when I met the culture, the Kraft Heinz culture of, delivering your targets and being driven by facts and data, it was kind of a refreshing way back on how I almost started my career, right? Which I think it was. It doesn't grow old, right? To think about, the skill was really about being analytical and being driven by numbers, as opposed to again, being more on the soft side, or more on the how do you sell a brand, right, to others. So
you came in where management was moving towards more of a scientific approach.
yes.
Yeah.
But maybe not as scientific, at least what I was able to experience. It was more of a more like hard data, or more numeric, right? More specific, I guess, in terms of how you would look at things and how you would drive, decisions, business decisions.
Yeah. And so I think that a lot of people are also looking at where they are today, and they might. I was talking with another person, and they were saying that after COVID, they've had a lot of reassessment and looking at their the experience and what they're doing. Would you tell us, because I see that you connect the dots, what advice would you give someone that is looking at their career and they want to get somewhere? I know that you reached out, with you were fortunate enough to have those opportunities to do extracurricular activities. But what advice would you give people?
I'd say, again, thinking about it, maybe it's twofold. One is that you really assess and understand what are really the skills that you've been able to have, right? And that's not really about, again, what your degree is or what your majors are, if you have a diploma on this or that. Read what you think that you are really strong at, and that's maybe common sense, but I don't think that sometimes we really understand it, we're really good at, because it's not only what you think, but also what others give you in terms of feedback, right? And that it's always helpful to recognize or understand or actually assess that you do have that skill. And the other thing is like really being something that you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
If I think about the different roles and jobs that I had in my career, it's always about something that really drives your passion. So again, if I go back in the day when I made this decision, I felt like I was really passionate about, even though again I went there, as I said, almost by elimination. I really felt like I had that passion. I really liked, really being, in front of a team, of a group of people, and letting them to do something, right? Something about, the business that I was given responsibility on. So, and then for instance, if I think about the time that I was in global exports, I was basically rebuilding a business across international, traveling a lot, getting in touch with other cultures. I've always loved about my jobs. You really have a learning experience in front of you. So it really energized me, right, to really have those challenges in front of me. So I would wrap it up saying that is a combination of really understanding where your skills are, and where assessing or understanding where your true passion is. So
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think that that's something that we all need to learn a little more about ourselves and what we're doing. And since you're saying that you look at metrics consistently, that's something that I think that a lot of people need to also do. Assess where they are right now, and make sure that you have a passion for something. Now, in your career, has anyone been a positive influence that you can share with us about?
yeah, so I can think, like, first thought that comes to me is my dad, right? I think that if I go back in the day, again, he was more of an entrepreneur. He was always very proud to say that he actually had gone broke 4 times in his lifetime, and he always kind of came back. I don't know exactly how that happened, but he was very proud of that, right? But he didn't do a corporate career. So it was very interesting that my choice was going for corporate as opposed to being entrepreneur as him. And in my dad's house, I mean, I had 17 uncles, right? So it was a big family. I guess that it was always about, really having a challenge in front of you and being able to, I wouldn't call it survive, but I would say you just be happy with what you are given, and somehow, move forward. So I would remember, like, back in the day when I was in college, like, he being probably difficult for him because he also didn't go to college, right? So it was like putting an ear to what I had to say, what I thought, were like the issues that I was facing, or the opportunities probably that I had in front of me, and he trying to give advice of something that he really didn't know about. So it was very interesting to see how he would manage, and it goes back to his skills, right? If he had one, he had many, but he had one, definitely being a good listener, and then being a good coach on what he listened and he was put in front of. So it was very intuitive, and it actually, I think it's part of my formation, right? Say, hey, he was able to do that, even though it was not something that he really knew about. Can I actually do this? Can I provide that, mentorship and support and coaching to others based on what I'm listening and what I think? Again, it's call it a rational path to go forward. And it was very helpful for me. And I think at the time, when I then started moving into the initial positions that I had in my career, he passed away 10 years ago. So during the time that he was in, it was very, very, very kind of a rock for me, right? In terms of how he would provide that support, and then how he would, what he would do with the information that he was given. So
Yeah, no, that's amazing. How far of an education did he have?
So I think he went for, I don't even know, because again, the titles in Mexico, I think, are different from what you can get here. But I would say that he did a year in technical school to kind of be able to do the equivalent of something close to CPA work, I guess, but
Okay.
it was more more on a technical degree than actually a formal college degree. And at the time in Torreon, I think it was good. It was helpful. He was actually very smart with numbers.
Yeah.
So I guess that this was a way to give some formality with it without really running the whole 4 years, 4.5 years in college.
Yeah. Now he seems
Yeah,
like he was sharp.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
So as Latinos, what strategies could help leaders succeed? I know that um, you have a really good trajectory, but could you tell us what has worked for you?
Yeah. First thing that comes to mind, David, is flexibility. I think culturally it's always a challenge, right? To come to this country and try to find a path and a successful path. But as you learn and you learn from your own, successes and mistakes, really trying to keep yourself flexible on and being able to be humble enough to understand where you have made a mistake and learn from that and move forward from there. I think those are probably things that I've learned again the hard way, right? That as long as you keep yourself, I would say, open and having the ability to then recognize that you need to do something either different or build on something that is working well. I call that flexibility, right? To be able to then adapt and be able to build on what you've been able to deliver so far.
Oh, thank you. So I have two last questions for you. The
Sure.
first one, and this is something I've been asking all of our members and speakers, is how do you keep your Hispanic heritage alive?
Oh, well, multiple ways, I guess. In our home, Cynthia, myself, my kids, we're always about celebrations. We love food, and I would tell you that through food, I mean, we probably keep that alive. I love mole in particular, right? So every time that we have an opportunity to have some of that, my father my father-in-law knows that I love the barbacoa from Monterey. So either when we have an opportunity, we go down there. He just gets everything that we need for that. Here, my daughters just very recently they went into having some lessons with a friend of ours that she's also from Mexico, and she's teaching them to do things from scratch as well, right? Because we really want to get into not only I guess get a good place to actually eat good food and keep our heritage and build on that as well as really understand how again things are done and probably then have your own builds on that. And the last thing I'm going to say also through music, right? I love music, but I enjoy both of that in English or in Spanish, and that way we continue to keep track of what's happening in terms of music news, if you will.
Right.
Mexico, Latin America, and then we're probably taking it to in a different path. I brought my mariachi a couple of times here at home, right? So again, my daughters, my wife, remember what a serenata is, and having a good time with that. So,
Are you in the Northwest Arkansas region?
So I travel. I commute to the Northwest Arkansas region. I actually my family is based out of Chicago, and so it's relatively easy, actually. I found it intriguing that it was relatively easy to find a good mariachi with good songs and good music. So, yeah.
That's good. That's good. I love mariachi too. Um, so my last question for you is, what's next for you? What are you working on? Do you have a project or anything that you want to share with us?
Well, more than something that has not started is more about continuity of something that I've been doing, which is, and again, that's probably by itself a whole another topic, which is I'm really passionate about food insecurity. And I've been working on that since I came to the area. I'm part of the board of directors of the Northwest Arkansas Food Bank. And I'm also, we've been partnering strategically with them for now, I'm going to say probably 3, maybe 4 years. And I'm very, very passionate about anything that is food insecurity and anything that builds on that. We also started that path with University of Arkansas, supporting the Social Innovation Challenge, but always with the interest of how can we help in the area to really solve for food insecurity, that even though you would argue Northwest Arkansas is probably one of the kind of most bubbly economies, right, that we have around the U.S. It's also true that still, not everyone has the same opportunities when it comes to food, access to food on a daily basis for all the time. So that's a passion of mine. The team in the Northwest Arkansas Food Bank knows that everything that we can do to try to help. At some point, just a short story in that one, we were trying to really provide some donations, and we found out that we came at the time when we started with the largest food donation that has ever been done to the Northwest Arkansas Food Bank. So every time that we hear some of that, it's like, okay, so it seems like we are on the right path and we can do more about it. So we will continue on that path, David. I will tell you that when I hear that there are other possibilities and possibilities of actually work with other companies, possibilities of supporting the efforts of the University of Arkansas on with the Social Innovation Challenge and other initiatives that they have to really drive solutions and hopefully more long-term stable solutions. I'm all in for that. I think it's something that we should be able to support. And our company's mission is actually along those lines, right? For years, we've been partnering also with Rise Against Hunger and Feeding America. So a number of organizations that are also about, solving for food insecurity. So I think it's only natural for us to say, hey, how do we do this in a tailor-made fashion for our teams and our people and the people that surround us in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Know that it right now, with COVID, is probably one of the most important things that has helped, cope with this pandemic.
Yeah, and then more on the personal side, what I can add, David, is I'm about to become an empty nester. My youngest child she's actually going to college this fall. So I have 3 kids, as I mentioned. So she's going. So for us, it's like, okay, so we as Latinos not necessarily have the mindset of our kids live, and then it's like we forget or they find their own path, if you will. More about that. For us, it's like, okay, so as we become empty nesters, what would be then and I haven't figured that out. I think that Cynthia and myself are talking about that as what is ahead of us, and
right.
But we see that as a nice thing, right? That is happening in our life right now. So
yeah, well, thank you so much for this time. I really appreciate you coming on this video chat and getting to know you.
yeah, no, fantastic, David. Thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully, again, some of the conversation is helpful for others. And yeah, happy for the opportunity and the chat for today.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and we will talk again later.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.